This is Mike Kent.
Morning, Mike. Congratulations.
Thank you. There aren't many of them, are there?
Good morning. This is Deborah, and I just
Hi.
wanted to say good morning. And I wanted to say to Roger, congratulations on what looked like a very smooth, difficult election.
Oh, I'd congratulate the clerk's office. They did a great job.
Success has many fathers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Defeat is an orphan.
Yeah.
Who else do we have on the phone?
Surges here.
Okay, Cliff.
Cliff, can I ask you, have you rescheduled Human Services to a day other than Veterans Day? I need to do the same thing with admin, and I didn't know if we should coordinate that.
You know, Deb, I saw that it's on the schedule for next Friday, I believe. So I think we usually meet on a Wednesday, and I saw on the county calendar that it's set for a Friday.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that yet. There's also space after judicial. Did you notice as they put admin in after judicial?
I did not. If we go out to the county calendar, though, we should be able to see that right away.
I'll go take a look. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else on the phone? We have Dr. Iqbal, Bill Leonard, Mike Kenyon, Deb Allen, Cliff Surges.
Doug Shefflow.
Doug Shefflow.
John Martin.
Okay, John. Morning. Morning, Doug. I'm sorry, did you say Doug Shefflow's on the line?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Shefflow's here.
all right. Okay, thank you, Doug. Thank you for coming.
Good morning.
Hi.
Do we have a quorum or?
We will.
Okay.
Who do we have in the room, Roger?
You have, let's see, Mr. Weber, Mr. Froz, Mr. Hoshite, Mr. Hanson. We have Ms. Wegman and Ms. Wonicky. And then in the audience, you have Joe Onzik, Chris Allen, we have Jody Walnick, and Tom Rickard. I think I know everybody in the room. We're good. It's a good test, though, Chairman. Good test.
Well, and my writing doesn't go so fast, and so it's, let's see. So, Penny, congratulations. Steve Weber, Matt Hansen. I think you mentioned Drew Fraz.
Yes, sir.
John Hoshite.
Yes.
It's
And
Penny Wegman's birthday, too. She'll be glad that I announced that.
Okay.
Barb Wonicky is here.
Barb
And
Wonicky.
Celeste Whelan from the clerk's office is here with us.
Very good. Thank you, Celeste. Good. Celeste, thank you very much for your help this morning.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay.
It was well planned in advance.
Oh gosh, especially with what you've had this week.
Ready whenever.
Okay, my cell phone says that it's 9 o'clock, so I'd like to call the Executive Committee of Wednesday, November 4th, 2020 to order. I'm sorry for the unusual format of the meeting today in that on Friday afternoon late, we found out that one of my staff members had been tested positive for COVID. So we immediately called Barb Jeffers to confirm what the protocols were. Everybody was sent home. Everybody was sent to test. We haven't gotten results back yet, but we're doing the quarantining. And immediately that evening, we had the area sanitized. So all those pieces are taken care of, and so that's the reason that I'm with you only remotely, but in spirit. So, Celeste, again, thank you very much for your help this morning in substitute for Karen, and Jane, and then I'll ask you to call the roll.
Sure. Alan? Roz?
Wait, sorry, Alan present.
Roz?
Here.
Hanson? Hanson here. Hoshite?
Here.
Iqbal?
Iqbal present.
Kenyon?
Kenyon, here.
Leonard?
Here.
Lewis? Lewis? Martin?
Here.
Sanchez?
Here.
Shefflo?
Sheffo here.
Surgis?
Surges here.
Thomas?
Here.
Weber?
Here.
Winnicki?
Here.
Chairman Lodgen, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. On the Pledge of Allegiance this morning, do we have Chris Allen in the room?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Chris Allen has a long and distinguished career. As he comes to the podium, he has a long and distinguished career in government service in many realms. He served in the United States Marine Corps, as a civilian police officer in the United States Army, a local government body, the Federal Aviation Administration, and currently with King County. So Chris is married, and together they have a daughter, hoping to seek admittance into law school soon. Chris Allen is here with us with significant levels and years of successful and proven experience in facilities management and capital project construction management and executive level leadership. And with that, Chris, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, that is just as well as it can be done. Thank you very much, Chris Allen. On approval of the minutes from October 7th, 2020, may I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from October 7th, 2020 meeting?
Fraz moves.
Moved by Drew Fraz.
Iqbal, seconded by Leonard.
Okay, second by, I heard Dr. Iqbal's voice second. Thank you very much, Bill Leonard. So moved by Drew Fraz, second by Mo Iqbal. Are there any thoughts, comments, or changes? Okay, hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Ellen?
Alan, aye.
Roz?
Yes.
Hanson?
Hanson, yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis, did you arrive? Martin?
Yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Sheffo, yes.
Surgis?
Surges, yes.
Thomas? Yes. Weber?
Yes.
Winnicki?
Yes.
That passes.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, Celeste. Public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to make public comment?
No, Chairman, there are not. There are one person signed up to speak from Northern Illinois Food Bank, Janine. I don't know if she joined us by Zoom.
Okay, Janine? Okay, may I ask Janine from Northern Illinois Food Bank if you would like to make a public comment? Okay, hearing none. We have these meetings periodically, so you're always invited. Okay, next on the agenda, monthly financial statement. Joe Onsick, would you come to the podium and make your presentation?
Good morning. I do have a brief presentation that was prepared for you this morning. I sent it out early this morning. It was.
I'm going to run it from here, Joe. Thank you.
Okay, briefly what I have for you, since you will be voting on the budget, I just wanted to confirm that the budget was placed on public display in time to meet the statutory deadline of October 23rd. And the budget, of course, must be adopted at the November 10th board meeting in order to comply with the statute to have an adopted budget in place before the start of the fiscal year. So this is, no surprise. We obviously balanced the budget, and this is just to give you a brief summary of some of the key factors regarding the general fund. So the total increase for general fund budget was 2.3 million, which equates to roughly 2.5% increase. I then prepared a summary by department within the general fund, which indicates in descending order, first of all, the revenue sources. So you start with general government revenue, which has the greatest increase of almost 2.6 million. And most of that is a drawdown of the savings that we have, will be experiencing in 2020 from the CARES Act reimbursement, primarily for payroll expenditures that were related to the mitigation of COVID-19. Then you have an increase in recorder revenues. There's a net increase in sheriff's revenues due to the increase in, or the additional revenue, I should say, of the U.S. Marshal Program, which helps to offset the reductions in other revenue sources that would be occurring primarily due to the continued impact of COVID-19. We have an increase in court services revenue and in state's attorney's revenue. And then there's several departments that were unchanged. And then we start to see small reductions in building management, and that has to do with their rent that is collected, judiciary and courts, environmental management, county clerk, county board. That's the elimination of the riverboat grant to the county board office. And then you have a significant reduction in court-related fees in the circuit clerk's area, again, which is expected to, as a result of continued impact of COVID-19. This is the expenditure side. Building management sees the greatest increase in expenditures. This is primarily due, the change from one year to the other in terms of expenditure budget has to do with really a combination of things. One is utilities were under budgeted in 2020, and so in 2021, you're seeing an increase to reflect more of what we really would expect. And the same is true for janitorial services. There was a significant increase there, as well as some increases in repairs and maintenance. So that's the bulk of the increases there. Other countywide expenditures have increased roughly $500,000 due to increases in additional software requirements and software licenses, some of which were necessary to support the remote operation of the county. And then you see increase in state's attorney's area. This is primarily the salaries, wages, benefit increases there in their area, since they have some of the larger pool of employees there. In 2021, we'll be setting aside $320,000 to help offset the cost of the biennial election. That set aside did not incur in 2020 because we only do that every other year. And then you have the increase in the county clerk's area that is related to some of the additional expenditures required for mail-in ballot processing. You have an increase in court services. Some of that really has to do with an increase in cost of medical services that are provided like in the juvenile detention area, as well as the increase in wages and benefit expense for employees. You have an increase in contingency, and that's mainly because we're restoring the contingency balance to the $1,050,000 that we start each year with. Then we have increases in information technology. Debt service is the planned increase in debt service based on our debt service schedules when we issued the bonds. And this has to do with the 2013 bond issue. Then we have smaller increases, public defender, CANCOM subscriber fees, environmental management, finance, recorder's office. You can go on to the next, thank you. And then the coroner's office, development, human resource management, so on down the line. Then we actually see some small reductions in merit commission, judiciary and courts, supervisor of assessment, circuit clerk, county board. There's a significant reduction there related to the elimination of the riverboat grant. And then you have a very large reduction in sheriff's office expenditures, and that's related to the early retirement incentive, in which higher paid staff were encouraged to retire early. Some of those positions are not being replaced, or the ones that are they'll be coming in with new employees starting out at a lower wage. And then this is the same presentation again, but this is the net change. So this includes revenue and expenditures. So again, we start with building management, circuit clerk, countywide. So it's basically follows the same descending order as we've seen. You can go to the next slide. And then we go all the way down to zeros at the bottom, which indicates revenues and expenditures are equal for both years. The budget balanced. Okay, and I apologize. I didn't realize this would be so difficult to see on the screen. But what I wanted to do is just take a few moments to talk about the tax levies. We are starting with the 2020 tax levies, which totaled $56,079,000, and that represented an increase of 1% over the previous year. So that was our starting point. And we added a total of $490,000 to that to cover what we're anticipating to be the increase for new construction. And if you go further up to the top of that column, you can see how the tax levies for the individual funds, the general fund, the insurance liability fund, the IMRF fund, and FICA fund were adjusted. We had a large increase required for the insurance liability fund to offset the increase in insurance liability premiums and workers' comp premium increases. And then the other increase in Social Security is a reflection of the wage increases. The reduction in IMRF has to do with the reduction on the sheriff's wage expenses. So you'll see that corresponding decrease in the SLEP insurance or pension benefit, I should say. So that resulted in a net reduction of $960,000 in the general fund. If you move over to the second to the last column, we're adding another $210,000 to the levy request. And this is explained on the next slide. So I guess we should probably go to the next slide. Okay, so we're starting with the estimate of $490,000 of an estimated increase in new construction. We're also then, we just received word a couple weeks ago that there is an expiring TIF district. This is in Carpentersville area for the Spring Hill redevelopment project area. This is estimated to bring in an additional $28,000. We did not include that in the budget because it came in after the budget was established, but it's a relatively small amount, so we don't need to change the budget at this point. And then we're adding an additional $182,000 just to make sure that we're picking up anything that we didn't anticipate in terms of new construction or additional increases in expiring TIF districts. And the reason why it's uncertain at this point is because at this point, all we have is the equalized assessed values for these properties, but not all of the exemptions have been processed yet, and they will not be all processed until roughly the February timeframe, and that's the point at which the exact dollar amount would be determined in terms of what we can increase our levies to capture that. So we're just putting that $182,000 in there as a cushion. And if you take that 182 and that 28,000, that equals that $210,000 additional amount. You can go to the next slide. And I just wanted to have this on record as an explanation, but just so you can have it for your file. But what I wanted to make sure you understand is you are, within the resolution for the general fund, you're authorizing this limit of $700,000 to increase the property tax levy by. But you're also at the same time authorizing me to reduce the levy down to the point where the increase exactly equals the increase in new construction and expiring TIF districts. So at that point then, when the tax levy is extended, the increase will exactly equal the increase in new construction and TIF districts, not 1 penny more, not 1 penny less. So this is how you ensure that we at the same time are capturing everything possible, but limiting it to just new construction and TIF district increases. And I think that concludes what I needed to share with you this morning, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. Are there any questions for Mr. Onsick on the budget presentation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is Mo Iqbal.
Okay, Dr. Iqbal?
Yeah, on the tax levy, property tax, what I hear is there is no increase on the property taxes to the construction that already exists. It's only to the new construction. Is that correct?
We did capture the new construction that was added to the tax rolls from last year. So the last few years we've been doing that. So the new construction that already exists and that's already in our tax rolls, it's already incorporated into the tax levy.
So the sense of your question, Dr. Iqbal, there are basically two types of levy increases that can take place. One is on new construction each year, and then each year's new construction folds into the base for future years, and then a cost of living levy. There is no cost of living levy increase in this, but the new construction, as we have for the last couple of years, is included. So it is just the new construction that gets counted for property taxes, that there's an assessment against that new construction, but not for cost of living. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, essentially, yes. Thank you.
Yes, right. Okay. Other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Joe, would you put one additional page on, the presentation that's for today and, any future use of these slides that would have the amount of the reserves that we have set aside and identified. My rough estimate on that is it's approximately 11 million. There's one, and I forget what it's titled, but something like 5 million, and another one is 6 million in rough terms, and I'm using the term reserves loosely, but could you, for the board meeting next Tuesday, would you, put together as all of your slides are straightforward, page on reserves? Would that be okay?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. I know what you're referring to. There's roughly a $5 million balance in the emergency reserve fund that has been untouched. And we're estimating there'll be approximately $6 million of reserve that will be established at the end of this year, which is resulting from the savings from the reimbursement for payroll from the Coronavirus Relief Fund.
Okay. Reason why that's important is because there may be some misunderstandings that reserves have been reduced or pulled down, and actually that's not factually accurate. So the reserves total, when we're finished with this budget, approximately $11 million that's passed on to the next administration. Let's see. The other thing, one of the new board members who was elected last night did an analysis of the bipartisan support of our budgets. Mr. Shepro did an analysis that showed that over the last 8 years, that the percent of positive budget votes has been 97%. So that means that 97% of the time we have both Republicans, Democrats, anybody else voting positively for probably the most important decision that the board makes each year. So 97%, both sides of the aisle. Okay, I think that's all I have also. So, Joe, thank you very much for your good work, and thanks for everybody who's participated in the budget process this year. Next on the agenda, then, is the fiscal year 21 budget ordinance and resolutions. Mr. Hoshite, I believe that you'd like to move the following 19 items individually to the county board agenda. We'll ask for a second, and then we'll have individual roll call votes on each of these at the county board. If there's anybody who, yeah, go ahead.
I'll move.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Hoshite. Mr. Leonard seconds. Any discussion? Let's see. Mr. Hoshite, would you want to read off the ordinance and then the various resolutions just for the record in the form of, 3 hearings of resolutions and pieces of legislation?
Item 1 is the ordinance adopting the 2021 annual appropriations. And then we have 18 resolutions in order. The first is the levy for the general fund. Second is insurance liability fund. Then the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, Social Security Fund, County Highway Fund, County Bridge Fund, County Highway Matching Fund, County Health Fund, Veterans Commission Fund, and then all our special service areas, Mill Creek, Shirewood Farm, Wildwood West, Cheval de Selle, Plank Road Estates, Exposition View, Pasadena Drive, Tamara Dittman, and Crane Road Estates.
Okay. Any further comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing none. Celeste, would you call the roll to put this on the agenda for Tuesday's meeting?
Okay, and these are for all 19 items, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Allen?
Allen, aye.
Fraz?
Yes.
Hanson?
Hanson, yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Sanchez? Sanchez?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Thank you. Shefflo?
Sheffo, yes.
Surgis?
Burgess, yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Winnicki?
Yes.
That passes.
Okay. The ordinance and the resolutions will be put onto Tuesday's agenda. Next, the construction of the consent agenda. Our Chairman of Energy and Environment, Barbara Winnicki, I believe that you'd like to present and move one item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution authorizing the county into a memorandum of understanding with Reverse Logistics Group of America and eWorks Electronic Services to meet the requirements of law. There's 0 cost to the county, and I'd like to move it.
Okay, so moved by Ms. Winnicki, seconded by
Weber will second.
Steve Weber. Any comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, would the clerk call the roll to put this on the consent agenda for next Tuesday's meeting?
Okay, Allen?
Allen, aye.
Fraz?
Yes.
Hanson?
Hanson, yes.
Boscheit,
Yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Jefflo, Surgis,
Burgess, yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Winnicke.
Yes.
That passes.
yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
The
That
motion passes. Next, our Chairman of Finance and Budget, Mr. Hoscheit, I believe that you'd like to present and move 22 items.
Yes, I'll move all 22.
So moved by Mr. Hoscheit, seconded by
Leonard, second.
second by Mr. Leonard. Mr. Hoscheit.
Item 1 is a child protection data court grant. Item 2 is a budget adjustment to transfer from the tax sale and error fund to the general fund. 3 is an emergency management program grant. 4 is a grant agreement with the state for violent crime victims assistance. 5 is an intergovernmental agreement with Illinois Department of Children and Family Services for a grant for the Advocacy Center. 6 is a grant agreement with the state for violent crimes assistance program. 7 and 8 are intergovernmental agreements for the Juvenile Detention Center. 7 is Kendall County, 8 is Ogle County. 9 is a revised intergovernmental agreement between Batavia and the county for household hazardous waste collection services. 10 is a contract for the Adult Justice Center telephone video visitation program. 11 is electronic monitoring service agreement. 12 is a contract for liquidity monitoring and treasury analysis services. 13 is a contract renewal for the Mill Creek SSA office. 14 is a contract for lawn and maintenance service for Kane County facilities. 15 is retention of Cordigan Clark and Associates as our construction consultant. 16 is purchase of non-OEM auto parts and supplies for transportation and sheriff. 17 is a contract for electronics recycling services. 18 is reimbursing the Kane County General Fund for IT costs for special revenue funds outside the agencies and separate taxing bodies. 19 is approving the per diem rates for 2021. 20 is authorizing hiring of a part-time human resource coordinator. 21 is authorizing personnel replacement in the Department of Human Resources. And 22 is payment of our monthly bills.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is Mao Iqbal.
Okay, Mr. Iqbal, you have the floor.
Item 15, I will be voting no, so if you can take it out of the consent agenda or...
Okay, our usual practice is to go ahead and put it on the consent agenda, and then at the board meeting, I'll make a note that you can go ahead and take it off. And if I remember correctly, I'll invite you to go ahead and take it off the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other thoughts or comments? Okay, hearing none, would the clerk call the roll?
Allen,
Allen, aye.
Raz,
Yes.
Hanson,
Hanson, yes.
Boscheit,
Yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Kenyon, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Jefflo,
Sheffo, yes.
Surgis,
Burgess, yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Winnicke.
Yes.
It passes.
Okay, the motion passes. I'd also like to just mention to the executive committee members that Karen Miner is on the phone this morning listening, so she's making her notes also. So she's getting ready for the work that needs to be done by the end of this week. Let's see, getting some kind of feedback. Okay. Anyway, Karen's on the line to take care of that work by Friday, and then, as usual, Celeste from the clerk's office is the person who takes care of doing the clerk business. There's someone who has not muted their phone, and I'm getting some feedback and some noise from that. Thank you very much for correcting it. Chairman of Transportation, Drew Frost, I believe, to present and move 4 items.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have 4 items. I'll move all 4.
Okay, Mr. Frost moves. Is there a second?
Mr. Hanson?
Seconds.
Okay, let's see. I heard Mr. Kenyon say something, and then I heard Drew recognize Mr. Hanson. Let's see. I'll go to Mr. Kenyon first. I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear what you said, Mike.
I second, sir.
Oh, okay. So I heard your voice. So Mr. Kenyon seconds. Mr. Frost.
Okay, item number 1 is to approve a supplemental appropriation for the Bliss Main Fabian intersection improvements. This is with the Kane County Forest Preserve. This increases that amount by $49,800 to cover additional tree replacement costs, which are part of the agreement. Item 2 approves 1 new Adopt-a-Highway applicant. Item 3 approves another amendment to an IGA with the Kane County Forest Preserve. This is for the Dauberman Road Extension Project near Big Rock. There's no dollar change. It simply adds a small temporary construction easement to the agreement. Item 4 is a fairly large item. This is to approve an agreement with a company called Electronic Transaction Consultants. This is what we're calling the back office tolling management services for the Long Meadow Parkway project. The total amount of the 10-year length of the contract is $7,778,497. This is for a 6-year contract with 2 2-year options to extend. So that would, the amount I mentioned covers the entire potential 10-year term of the contract. I will mention also that staff kind of took the challenge to reduce these costs as much as possible, and it's actually down 32.3% from the original estimate we received. So I'll move all 4 of those.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there questions, comments? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Allen?
Allen, aye.
Frost?
Yes.
Hanson?
Hanson, yes.
Boscheit?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Leonard? I'm sorry, Leonard? Martin?
Yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Leonard, yes. Shuffle, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Leonard. Thank you, Mr. Shefflo. Sturgis?
Burgess, yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Winnicki?
Yes.
Okay, that passes.
Okay, that motion passes. Next is a couple under executive committee action. The first is, may I have a motion and a second to authorize fiscal year 2021 non-union wage increases? So moved by...
Allen moves.
So moved by Ms. Allen, seconded by...
Hanson.
Seconded by Mr. Hanson. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Ellen?
Allen, aye.
Frost?
Yes.
Hanson?
Hanson, yes.
Boscheit?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon?
Kenyon, yes.
Leonard?
Leonard, yes.
Martin?
Martin, yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Shuffle, yes.
Sturgis?
Burgess, yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Winnicki?
Yes.
Passes.
Motion passes. Then may I have a motion and a second for resolution authorizing an emergency requisition vehicle in the sheriff's office area? May I have a motion?
Froz moves.
Leonard moves.
So moved by, let's see, because there were a couple I didn't recognize the voice. Who would
Leonard
like to
moves.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Leonard, second by
Kenyon.
Mr. Kenyon. Any thoughts or comments?
This is Ms. Thomas. I have a question.
Okay, Ms. Thomas, you have the floor.
And my apologies to Chairman Leonard. I was not at the judicial public safety meeting 2 weeks ago. Has the detective already been hired that this vehicle is for?
Mr. Leonard, I think that was a question for Ms. Thomas. Over to you.
Yes, I didn't quite catch all of that. Could you please restate that?
Yes, I asked if the detective that this vehicle is for, has he or she been hired?
I am not sure about that yet, Ms. Thomas. If that person has not been hired, they're in the process of being hired. And obviously, when we order a vehicle, it takes a period of time, so we want to make sure we have that vehicle ready pretty quickly after the individual starts.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that this is an emergency, so I'm just wondering why this can't come through the committee.
Okay, do we have someone from the sheriff's office available?
Sheriff Hain is here at the podium.
Yes.
Okay,
So we to answer the direct question, this detective currently serves with the Homeland Security Drug Task Force. The same gentleman that's responsible for helping in the seizure of $8.2 million in drug proceeds, 22 assault weapons, and 2,800 pounds of narcotics this year alone. So we went through the normal channels of purchasing. I guess my staff believed that we were purchasing it through the state bid, which is approved through state purchasing. He has to have a specific vehicle that the federal authorities approve of. We learned at the last minute that this was not through the state bid approval process, and he needs this vehicle by the end of the month, as his current vehicle is not appropriate and is old. So this is coming out of my general fund budget. Of course, we have a large budget surplus at the sheriff's office that we're making a lot of other operations happen with. So this is just a quick move to make sure he has what he needs to get the job done by the end of the month. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Thomas, does that answer the question?
Yes, I think that additional information about the state program is helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sheriff Hain, thank you very much for being here this morning in order to answer that question. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, clerk call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, aye.
Froz,
Yes.
Hanson,
Hanson, yes.
Hoshite,
Yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Kenyon, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Shefflo,
Shefflo, yes.
Surgis,
Sturgis, yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Winicki.
Yes.
It passes.
Okay, the motion passes. Over under the CAC committee, I believe that we have one amendment resolution, let's see, is amending resolution 2278 to include eligibility of Valley Industrial Association. May I have a motion and a second?
Winicki moves.
Mr. Hoshite, I'm sorry.
Winicki seconds.
Hoshite moves and Winicki seconds. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Hoshite moves it. Ms. Winicki seconds. Any thoughts or comments?
Mr. Chairman, this is Mo Iqbal.
Okay, Dr. Iqbal.
Yes, I agree with the amendment, and I want to extend this amendment to other businesses. And I have redlined the resolution. which adds businesses which were blocked before. And what we have seen is that we have 6.3 million or so dollars which are undispersed. And small businesses need the money, but somehow cannot give it to them, or they cannot apply it, and they have insufficient information. So we want to help the businesses. I think that's what CAC wants. And my suggestion is to expand the businesses to everyone who is a taxpayer entity. And further, if a person has two restaurants and they're both suffering, each profit center should be considered separately. That's one item. The second one is that application process somehow has been made too cumbersome, apparently by staff. When I read this resolution, I don't find it very hard, but looks like that people cannot apply. They have some requirements that stop people from completing this application. So we want to find out the folks who applied and have insufficient information and their application is incomplete, why it is incomplete. Is it because of some requirement that has been put by staff, such as I heard that it is they are requiring audited tax returns rather than a regular tax return. I'm not sure what it is, but my amendment is to, number one, add more businesses, extend the deadlines to end of November, and look at the requirements, application requirements, how we can streamline it further.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I believe that Dr. Iqbal is making a motion to amend this amendment to Resolution 2278 to include adding more businesses and adjusting the application deadline, set of deadlines. Is that correct, Dr. Iqbal? And you've redlined a copy that went out last night at 7:30 to, let's see, Mr. Hoshite and to me.
And also Mr. Weber. Later on, I sent it to Mr. Weber, and Roger has it if he wants to put it on the screen.
Okay. Let's see, Roger, would you go ahead and set that on the screen?
1 second.
So the motion is...
I have a amendment. One is for small business, and then there's another that says nonprofit grant program. Is this assuming?
Yeah, both of them. Yeah.
Okay, so small business first.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So the motion is made by Dr. Iqbal. Is there a second for discussion and potential further adjustment to this resolution?
Weber will second.
Okay. Mr. Weber seconds the motion. So now discussion. Any thoughts or comments?
Mr. Chairman, this is Alan.
Okay, Miss Allen?
Is there any chance that the amended resolution or a variation of it could go to the CAC meeting and then come to the county board on Tuesday by having a placeholder resolution? That way we can improve the resolution that we've already seen right now and move that to the consent agenda. And there would still be an opportunity to incorporate Dr. Iqbal's changes into a resolution that would go from CAC to the county board with a chance to take a look at it before the meeting. Just a suggestion.
Okay. Naturally, it's possible. It's very interesting that it was on this matter that that at the executive committee meeting from October 7th, according to the minutes, Rod, let's see, I don't want to make this too complicated. So that could be done, but I want to avoid misunderstandings. I had an unpleasant experience of having Joe Lulvis, make statements at the last CAC committee meeting that did not square at all with the facts and what actually happened. Let's see, there's a slide, Roger, that's minutes from CAC meeting from October 8th, 2020.
Yes, just one second.
First of all, I think that it has a logical sense to it that we can have a placeholder. To answer your question, Ms. Allen, directly, we could have a placeholder and then have this talked about in detail, presented and talked about in detail, if the chairman of CAC committee allows that at the meeting, and I believe that there's a 3 o'clock meeting this afternoon, and it could be discussed. However, I wouldn't want a repeat of what occurred last time when the VIA was actually talked about. And I don't know, Roger, if you've been able to find that slide that's minutes from CAC meeting. Okay.
It's not a minutes. It's a email that was sent to us. It's from Joe Lulvis to Kathy Gilmore.
Well, that was when false information was passed on to one of our constituents. This would be a different slide from an earlier meeting. I don't know if, while we're talking about this, the title of the slide is Minutes from CAC Meeting 10, so October 8th, 2020. Meeting took place day after Executive Committee meeting. Then it has the quote straight from the minutes that were approved. Bottom line was that consensus was received to endorse the resolution that was on the Executive Committee meeting on October 7th, so the day before, in support of including VIA. So the CAC action that took place was a roll call was taken to move to the county board by a 5-0 vote. From there, we needed to have a resolution drafted. That did not take place. It now has taken place. I believe that Mr. Lulvis drafted it, and you have it now on file, and that's what we're voting on, the underlying before any adjustments were made to it. So I'm fine. I'm happy to accommodate whatever the Executive Committee wants and the CAC Committee wants. We can do that. So I guess the question that you're asking, Ms. Allen, is wouldn't it make sense to talk about this in detail at the 3 o'clock meeting today at CAC? And I'm also fine with that if Mr. Hoscheit's fine with it, as long as we don't have another repeat of the misunderstanding and then the unpleasantness of that exchange at the last CAC meeting, at the end of the last CAC meeting. So I'm fine with it. I guess Dr. Iqbal, would you be amenable to that being discussed in detail at the CAC meeting this afternoon?
Mr. Chairman, I am fine with that, except that I wanted to save CAC's time. They have so much on their agenda and so forth. So if there's anything questionable in this amendment, I could answer it, but I may not be available at 3 o'clock to answer any to this amendment. I will try to, but I don't promise.
Okay. There's a couple of things that could perfect your action here, which would be that let's see, there have been 3 out of 24 board members who have received the red line copy, even though it's been up on the screen for a few moments. Thank you, Roger. And so my guess is before people take a vote on this, they might want to study it more closely. I could be wrong about that. It's possible, and I'd be happy to defer to your preference, Dr. Iqbal. If you would like to call it for a vote now, as you say, to save the CAC committee time this afternoon, I'd be happy to do that also. So what would be your preference, Dr. Iqbal?
I defer to Mr. Hoscheit.
Let's see. So Mr. Hoshite, would you like to, and actually, Dr. Iqbal, this is your amendment. So I think what you're asking Mr. Hoshite is, would it be part of this afternoon's agenda under some item on the agenda to discuss this in greater detail? So the question is not like just to defer the question on action at this point, but it's, will there be a home for it in this afternoon's discussion, Mr. Hoshite?
Yes, there is a, one of the items of discussion is the remaining available funds and how we plan on allocating those. There has been input from members of the board and the CAC committee about expanding a business program in light of the recent shutdowns. I think the appropriate approach in order to get this administered properly would be to, instead of amending our existing program, which is going, those applications are going through the process, to come up with a much simpler program that would require much less documentation and detail so that the applications can be vetted and turned around more quickly. And I think that the spirit of what Dr. Iqbal's proposed can be accomplished if it's the will of the board to pursue that. We also have to deal with staff, obviously, and get staff direction to assist us in getting a program like that implemented. So I think it is appropriate that it be discussed at the committee because the details of the program have to be figured out. But I think in substance, the committee is prepared to address the concern that Dr. Iqbal has raised today.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Hoshite. So Dr. Iqbal, you would have a part of discussion in the agenda this afternoon. Do you want to call it for action now, or after it's been discussed and after it's been discussed this afternoon?
I would rather have it discussed at the CAC committee this afternoon, and let's have a more detail, because it, my concern is about more detail, what's going on, and that's what I think intent of the committee is. So I agree with Mr. Hoshite.
All right. So would you withdraw your motion at this time? Can always replace it and go through CAC. And so Mr. Weber, so first, Dr. Iqbal, would you withdraw your motion at this time?
Yes, I withdraw.
And then Mr. Weber, okay, based on the commitment that it'll be discussed this afternoon. And then Mr. Weber?
Yes, I withdraw.
Okay, I appreciate that. So thank you. So that'll be discussed later on today. So now we're back to Celeste. If I recall correctly, we have a motion probably by Mr. Hoshite, seconded by, I don't recall, on just amending Resolution 2278 to include eligibility of Valley Industrial Association. Who was the second?
The second on that was Winnicki.
Okay, thank you, Barb. Thank you, Celeste. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, clerk, call the roll.
Allen?
Allen, aye.
Sorry? Was it a yes or no?
Allen?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you. Fraz?
Yes.
Hanson?
Hanson, yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Leonard? Leonard? Okay. Martin?
Martin, yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Shefflo, yes.
Surgis?
Burgess, yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Winnicki?
Yes.
It passes.
Okay, so the motion passes. It'll be added to the consent agenda. No need for executive session today. Committee reports. Would anybody like to present any information to the executive committee from their standing committee?
Mr. Chairman, this is Alan.
Okay, Miss Allen?
Just that I'm going to try and find a date for admin that is not on Veterans Day, and we'll send out notice to everyone. I'll work on that later today. Can you tell me who I should try and work that out with? Should it be you, or do you want me to go through Karen? Can you give me a suggestion on how to find an appropriate date that is not Veterans Day for the admin committee?
Good. If you'll call Jane, if you'll either email Jane Talich, she'll be able to make the arrangements with Karen Miner.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Other committee reports?
Just none.
Hearing none. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn? So moved
Kenyon.
So moved by Mr. Kenyon, second by
Mo Iqbal.
So Dr. Iqbal. Let's see. Would the clerk call the roll?
Sure. Allen?
Alan,
Fraz? Hanson?
Yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Iqbal?
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Leonard? Martin?
Martin, yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Shefflo, yes.
Surgis?
Burgess, yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weber? Winicki?
Yes.
That passes.
Okay, motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you very much for coming today.